Good morning, this is Omni View, Episode 4, Balanced News Perspectives. Today is February 27th, 2026. We'll cover what happened, how different viewpoints frame it, so you can decide for yourself. Bill Clinton testified before Congress on his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, denying any wrongdoing amid ongoing scrutiny. Let's dive right into that. Former President Bill Clinton appeared before the House Oversight Committee yesterday, addressing his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein by stating he saw nothing improper and did nothing wrong. This testimony came after Hillary Clinton's deposition, where she deferred several questions to him, leading the committee to broaden its inquiries. Clinton highlighted that his cooperation is driven by a desire to help victims and serve the country. Coverage of this event reveals sharp partisan divides. Conservative voices, as seen in outlets like the Daily Mail, frame the hearing as a long-overdue reckoning for Clinton's Epstein links, suggesting it exposes elite hypocrisy and even noting Trump's criticism of Republicans for pushing the grilling too aggressively. Progressive sources such as The Guardian portray it as politically motivated theater, pointing out the committee's failure to summon Trump despite his own Epstein associations, and they emphasize Clinton's denials as part of a broader effort to heal victims without undue sensationalism. Centrist reports, like those from CNBC, focus on the procedural aspects, noting how the questions expanded after Hillary's testimony and questioning the balance in scrutinizing all figures tied to Epstein equally. One question worth considering is how partisan motivations might influence the committee's focus on certain individuals over others. Shifting now to international tensions, President Trump has expressed frustration with the ongoing Iran nuclear talks. Trump stated he's not happy with Iran's approach to negotiations over its nuclear program, accusing Tehran of failing to negotiate in good faith. He indicated that military force, including potential regime change, remains an option, following inconclusive talks with suggestions for further discussions next week. No final decision on strikes has been made yet. Perspectives on this vary widely. Conservative outlets applaud Trump's tough stance as a necessary escalation to pressure Iran, viewing his warnings as a bold contrast to perceived weaknesses in past administrations and essential for regional stability. Liberal viewpoints, often in places like The Guardian, criticize the rhetoric as dangerously inflammatory, arguing it risks derailing diplomatic progress and heightens tensions without clear evidence of Iran's bad faith. International takes, such as from the BBC, express concern over potential escalation, framing Trump's comments as part of a broader U.S. strategy that could isolate allies if military options are pursued prematurely. What's interesting here is the uncertainty. How might military threats affect ongoing diplomatic efforts? Meanwhile, on the domestic front, there's developments involving education and law enforcement in Los Angeles. The FBI conducted searches at the home of Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho and the district's headquarters. Reports suggest a possible link to a bankrupt educational technology company that developed a chatbot for the district. In response, the school board held an emergency meeting to discuss Carvalho's employment, with further discussions planned. This raid is being framed in different lights across the media. Some conservative voices highlight it as evidence of mismanagement in public institutions, calling for accountability in what's seen as a potential scandal involving tech procurement in education. Progressive perspectives, as covered in The Guardian, emphasize the need for transparency without jumping to conclusions, noting the uncertainty around the investigation's focus and its impact on the nation's second-largest school district. Broader coverage discusses how such events fuel debates on oversight in edtech partnerships, questioning whether this reflects systemic issues or isolated errors. A key question nobody's asking enough is how this could affect students and district operations in the long run. Turning our attention overseas, a tragic incident in Milan has drawn global attention to urban safety. A crowded tram derailed in central Milan during rush hour, crashing into a building and resulting in at least 2 deaths and dozens of injuries. The accident happened on Line 9 while the vehicle was turning, and emergency services responded quickly, though the cause remains uncertain. Eyewitness accounts describe scenes of chaos, underscoring the human toll. Italian and international media, including the BBC and Daily Mail, describe this as a tragic accident that highlights urban transport safety issues, with calls for infrastructure reviews and empathy for those affected. Conservative angles might link it to broader debates on public funding for maintenance, suggesting underinvestment as a factor, while progressive frames stress the need for systemic investments to prevent such disasters. Coverage often compares it to similar incidents globally, fostering discussions on accountability without assigning blame prematurely. One thoughtful point to ponder is what caused the derailment and whether it could have been prevented with better oversight. Staying in Europe but shifting to politics, there's a surprising election result in the UK that's shaking up the landscape. The Green Party won the Gorton and Denton by-election, erasing Labour's previous 13,000 vote majority in a stunning upset. Labour had positioned it as a contest primarily with Reform UK, but the Greens' effective media campaign and the authenticity of their candidate secured the victory. Observers have noted high levels of family voting, which some are reporting to authorities. Left-leaning sources like The Guardian celebrate this as a wake-up call for Labour, attributing the win to voter dissatisfaction with mainstream policies and a push for genuine environmental focus, while critiquing Labour's complacency. Right-wing views, as in BBC reports, might downplay it as a local anomaly but use it to highlight fractures in left politics, suggesting Reform UK's role in splitting votes. Broader UK media analyzes how this reflects shifting voter priorities, from climate concerns to disillusionment with established parties. What's intriguing is how this might influence future UK elections and what it says about evolving voter dynamics. Now let's look at some business news where media giants are making big moves. Paramount, backed by Skydance and involving Larry and David Ellison, is pursuing a deal to acquire Warner Brothers, which could significantly expand their media empire if approved. The proposal highlights specifics around control and assets, but regulatory approval is still uncertain. This comes amid a competitive landscape in entertainment. Entertainment business reports, such as in Wired, frame this as a major consolidation that could create a powerhouse controlling vast content, with excitement about the potential empire. Critics warn of reduced competition and antitrust issues, expressing concerns from creatives about corporate dominance. Investor perspectives emphasize the financial boosts, contrasting with broader debates on how such mergers reshape industry power dynamics. A question to consider is how likely regulatory approval is and what impact this could have on media diversity. Finally, in technology, there's a notable clash between the Pentagon and an AI company that's raising ethical questions. The Pentagon is in a standoff with AI company Anthropic, which is refusing to remove safeguards on its models for military use, highlighting tensions over control of AI in warfare. Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, is central to this resistance, exposing broader power dynamics between tech firms and defense needs. This comes as other AI leaders like OpenAI's Owltman comment on de-escalating such tensions. Tech and defense coverage, including CNBC and Reason.com, portrays this as a pivotal test of ethical boundaries, with some supporting Anthropic's stance as vital for preventing misuse. Military-aligned views argue for national security needs to override corporate red lines, pushing for technological dominance. Progressive frames emphasize risks of unchecked AI in combat, while conservative ones highlight the importance of U.S. advancements. The question this raises is how this might affect AI development for defense and whether it could lead to broader industry standards. Before we go, tomorrow, watch for updates on the Iran nuclear talks, as further discussions are suggested for next week amid Trump's warnings of potential military options. That's Omni View. For full source links and more context, check out today's written briefing on the Omni View summaries page. As always, compare outlets, look for primary documents, and separate what's known from what's assumed. If balanced perspectives are valuable to you, share this with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow.
Without taking the dive, we went on vacation. We had a nice time. My doomsday